What's up, Wig Splitters? Welcome to the Prison Talk podcast. Yeah, we finally got it rolling. We got the podcast jumping off. This is going to be one of many, and we're going to be bringing it to you. So what we're going to be doing on this podcast is we're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on as far as in legislation with the prison system. So we'll be speaking on that, keeping you guys abreast of the latest news. We'll also be talking about current events, you know, what's going on out there in society, you know, who needs to get their wig split. And we'll be telling some tales from the freaky side. You know, me and my partner here, we got some tales to tell as far as, you know, some cheek busting stuff. I know you guys like to hear about that. So we're going to keep you entertained. And we're also still going to do the prison talk questions. So it's going to be filled up with a lot of action. And you guys, you be ready, and we're going to have guests on here once we get the podcast rolling, and we'll be taking calls eventually. But we look forward to hearing from you guys, and still email us your questions at freshoutseries@gmail.com, and make sure you check out the website, which is www.freshoutseries.com. Now, for a lot of you, you probably don't know a lot about me if you haven't seen my interview and how this show came about. You know, I'm not here to glamorize the prison life or the jail lifestyle or any of that stuff. There's nothing cool about being locked up. You know, I just created the show with my partner, Anthony, to show that there is another side to people getting out of prison and to the prison lifestyle. Now, I've been in a lot of shit. You know, I don't try to be the hardest motherfucker out there. Excuse my cussing, but keeping it real. But I just try to give it a real twist on whatever I talk about. Everything from me going to juvenile hall to me being in California Youth Authority to me doing almost 9 years in the federal penitentiary for bank robbery. So my story is, you know, basically I grew up with a pretty rough lifestyle, you know, single parent, but at the same time, mom was there, did good in school, but I got caught up, you know, hustled and sold drugs. So I went through that whole cycle in the 80s, did some time in juvenile hall, got out of there, and, you know, was still doing my thing somewhat, and then got caught up again in another case, which entailed home invasion. And like I said, this whole story is on the interview on our YouTube channel, Fresh Out Series, Life After the Penitentiary. And so I got caught up in that too, did some time for that, and I really hadn't, you know, learned my lesson at that point. So from there, I got into the porn game. If you guys ever seen Big Herc in the porn game, yeah, I've did some porn. No gay porn, straight porn for those out there who pervs, you know, thinking I was busting some cheeks out there. I was busting female cheeks. Anyways, got into the porn game for a little while. And from the porn game, I got caught up and did a bank robbery. High-speed chase, the whole nine. It was on the news. And, you know, got caught on the freeway. And from there, I didn't see the streets for 8 years and 8 months. And while I was in prison, rather than watch TV all day and sit around and play cards and, you know, play chess, I focused on myself. I focused on bettering myself. You know, I was at a USP with guys who averaged, you know, 30, 40 years. And so it was a reality check. So I really had to change the way I looked at life. And during that time is when I came up with the concept for Prison Talk. You know, I said, you know, having a kind of like entertainment background, I want to stay in entertainment, and I figured when I got out, if I could get together with somebody and put together a show, this would be the show for me to put together, because I've seen people come and go, and the whole prison life, you know, what's after that? What happens to a person after that? You see lockup and people are talking, you know, stuff in jail, they're hollering through the bars, but how are these guys when they get out of prison? And so I figured that this would be a good avenue for me to express myself and also shed some positive light on the negative that I did throughout my life. So when I got out of prison, went to the halfway house, I was, you know, trying to get on my feet, didn't have a job, a whole lot of money. I used to catch the bus from South Central to the Valley, and that's where I met the person who kind of changed my life, and we've been friends ever since. That was almost 10 years ago, actually, almost 10 years ago. And, you know, we used to work out together. We trained together, just used to kick it. And then, you know, I said, hey, man, how would you like to, you know, put this show together called Prison Talk? Actually, at the time, it wasn't Prison Talk. It was Fresh Out, Life After. And he's like, I told him a concept. He loved it. And from there, you know, we started making magic, man. And we've been doing this thing now for 6.5 years, I think, almost 7. So we've been at it quite a while. But this man, he's very intelligent. He's the other side of Fresh Out and Prison Talk that you guys don't ever get a chance to see. But he's the man behind a lot of what's happening and putting together the interviews. His name is Anthony, and I'm going to let him talk a little bit about himself and give you guys an introduction to who he is.
Thanks, big brother. Big Herc right there. Thanks for the introduction. Like he said, yeah, we've been at this for a minute, and I remember when he brought this concept up to me, it was right after I had just got done doing my bullshit-ass time, where I got busted for selling steroids, some sissy-ass shit. Nothing major, but nevertheless, it was a turning point in my life. Up until that point, I was just doing it as a side hustle, make extra money. Got set up by a CI, confidential informant for those that don't know. And, he basically set me up with the undercover, said it was his friend. This dude I had been working with for some time. And he, at the time I had no idea. He played it well. I don't know if something happened where he turned into a CI, like he got busted with something and then, they flipped him. But he played it well. I didn't see it coming. And on November 1st, 2011, about 20 sheriffs rolled up on me, and that was that. And it was a process. It was a shitty process, and it was something that, I didn't expect it. I didn't think any law enforcement agencies would waste their time on what I had going on because I wasn't doing anything major, and they proved me wrong. So from there, went through my time. I was looking at 2 years in state, but lucked out. Ended up only doing 3 months, but that's also why you don't see my episode on Fresh Out as an interview, because I never did state time, never did fed time, didn't do any major time. But just going through the process of being arrested, having to go through court dates, having to worry about potentially doing 2 years, all of that was enough for me to basically, just be done with it. I was over it at that point. They took so much money of mine, and I spent so much money fighting my case that, it's just not worth it after a certain point trying to do that shit. So when Marcus brought this idea up to me of Fresh Out, Life After, I was pretty much fresh out. So it was one of those things where it's like, it just made perfect sense. It just clicked. As soon as he told me the idea, it was like, yeah, this is what we need to do. We need to share what it's like to go through this process with other people, so that way they can potentially make better decisions, so that they don't go down the same route. They can make better choices. This type of stuff. I remember when I was going through this, I would hit up Marcus because of his experience, and then I remember that there's no handbook to this shit. Just like there's no handbook to life, there's no handbook to prison. So, having these types of answers, like, say, for example, Prison Talk, it's a perfect resource for people to go to get the answers that they won't find in other places. Unless you're on the streets and you go talk to an OG who's done time, you're not going to know what to expect. You're not going to know how to handle or how to navigate the legal system, how to, if you should take a deal or not, or if you should keep fighting your case. And that's where Fresh Out and Prison Talk fill that void. They fill that niche. So this is a really fun thing to be a part of, because we're able to provide that resource to the youth out there, to adults out there who make bad decisions. Everyone makes mistakes, but the most important thing is whether or not you learn from those mistakes. So if we can help prevent those mistakes, then I think society as a whole is going to be a lot better off. So that's why this type of thing I'm very proud to be a part of, and I'm glad it's seen the success that it has seen. with, all the followers on YouTube and whatnot, all the questions we get from you guys. It's really great. And hopefully with this podcast, we can, it'll be the next evolutionary step. So that way you guys can continue growing with us, and we'll see where this thing goes.
Good shit, Ant. Yeah, man. It's really been a blessing, and being able to reach out to especially a lot of the youngsters out there who's being misled by a lot of the things they hear in the rap music and just the Hollywood culture with, people going to jail. Everybody assumes somebody gets raped or somebody becomes somebody's bitch or, somebody's, the big shot caller and they're glamorized. None of this shit is glamorous. I'll tell you right now, I've seen dudes doing life. And I've sat in cells with these guys and had conversations and seen these dudes cry. Guys who are cold killers. I've seen it in their eyes. They want to go home. Nobody wants to be in prison. What I'm saying? Nobody wants to be in ADX or Pelican Bay or San Quentin or Folsom. Nobody wants to be there. You do have people there who probably are better off than on the street because they're psychopaths. But then you have a lot of good people also who are there and they just got caught up in the bad, wrong situation, somebody told on them, or they got caught up in a conspiracy or a RICO. You got a lot of guys talking about that stuff. They have no idea what a conspiracy is. You don't even have to have any drugs or anything. It could be all hearsay, and they can tie you into a CCE, continual criminal enterprise. So there's a lot of stuff out there we try to educate you on so that you don't walk into a courtroom situation blind, and hopefully you don't walk into a court period. Hopefully this will kind of sway you away from whatever you're doing so that you can get some act right. And if you are out there in the game, maybe you'll wisen up a little bit, start making some different moves and transition into the legitimate world. Because, ain't nothing cool about sitting up in a pen with 20 years, 30 years and having somebody visit you and all you could do is hold their hand. You know what I mean? You're around 1,000 barbarians. You got to wear your boots to the shower. You got to shower with your boxers on. It's just a bunch of bullshit. And it's racial. You can't sit next to a white guy. White guy can't sit next to a Mexican guy. You can't talk to this guy if he's a different nationality. It's just a bunch of ignorance. So, for people out there who think that, we try to endorse prison or we try to make it seem like it's cool, you don't know what our program's really about. You need to go and watch a lot of our prison talks so you can get educated. We clown around on here, but on the real, we keep it real and try to let you guys know that this is not the route. So, yeah, it's just crazy, So like I said, it's a blessing having hooked up with Ant and being able to, bring this show to you guys and have you guys support us on YouTube and the various platforms, Instagram and Twitter and Patreon. We really appreciate it.
So that being said, a lot of times we get comments, people complain about the intro and whatnot on every episode of Prison Talk. And what I think a lot of you guys need to understand is that serves as our disclaimer for every episode, mainly because YouTube doesn't particularly like the type of content we produce. Even though it's something that's very educational and it's something they should greatly endorse, it's not quote unquote family friendly or kid friendly, whatever, which is kind of the direction they're going. So, with the intro, we put that up there as our disclaimer so that way you guys know what Prison Talk is about. Because even with that intro in place, we still get ignorant people, naive people who have no real life experience but think they know life experience. More often than not, I'm assuming it's the millennials because what can you say? They really just don't have life experience. And one particular question that I think we should cover, or not necessarily a question, but a comment, which kind of furthers what I'm saying in terms of having a disclaimer, is this one that I actually read today. Just so you guys know, I'm basically the moderator on the comments. So if your comment doesn't see the light of day, you have me to thank. If it does see the light of day, you have me to thank. A lot of times, if your comment has something to do, or something that's funny, or something that's can spark conversation, then I'll let it slide. But if it's just some stupid shit where you're just talking nonsense, I'm just going to delete it because there's really no reason why I should let your comment see the light of day. In this particular comment, I'll read it for you guys. LOL. How is this a YouTube channel in 2018? This dude is the worst role model out there. If there was a gang recruitment center, this guy's channel is that. Put this dude back in prison because he ain't helping nobody outside of it. He is clearly stuck in the 90s, split their wig, bust a cap. Fucking flashbacks, LOL. He said, go get a job and be a dork, LOL. The fuck? This guy can't even use commas properly, just so you guys know. Street life is for morons and or teens who haven't grown enough to realize it's stupid. If you're a grown man and still trying to live that life in 2018, you're either full-blown retarded or you, nope, just retarded. Snitch is a word created by low-life criminal types to label people who want to obey the law, and they tied this negative persona to it so they can make you seem like something bad, all because they want you to stay away from getting them caught. If any of those things happen, then tell the police, because this isn't a movie, and gang rules are for morons with no past, present, or future life. Now, if someone busts in your house while you're sleeping, then shoot them. If someone shoots up your house and you know who did it, then call the cops and let them know. This isn't 1995. If you want to be a normal human being, then you will just follow the law and not think you can be John Wick and get away with it. What kind of person tells another person to go kill someone because they want to kill you, LOL? They just told you to commit a crime. That not only means you will murder someone, but also will spend your life in jail because of it. The worst advice I've seen on YouTube yet Black Lives Matter, or hey, Black Lives Matter, this is the problem in your communities. How about you stop people like this if you want to help your people? Go back to jail, you waste of life. So these are the types of comments that we get very regularly, and that's why I feel it's really important to keep the intro where it is. Now, let's unpack this for a second, because this dude, I can tell by everything he writes, has no fucking idea what life is really like. This is someone who lives in a gated community in his parents' house and probably still gets an allowance.
Yeah.
Because while you may have this sheltered life, the majority of people don't. There's a lot of kids growing up in neighborhoods with shitty parents who aren't raising them properly. So they have people from the streets raising them, or they're hanging out with their homies. They're doing things that, yeah, they shouldn't be doing. But unfortunately, that's their reality. So when you say stuff like, this dude is the worst role model out there, I moderate the comments. I've seen tons of comments where people thank Herc for saying what he says, keeping it real, being straightforward. So, I mean, this type of stuff just doesn't make any sense, and it's definitely a mindset that we have to constantly combat. In terms of snitch is a word created by low-life criminals, I don't think that's necessarily true. But the thing is, if you're living that life, this particular comment had to do with the episode Marcus did about snitching, at which point I think a lot of people misconstrued what he said because of the context. They were thinking he's talking about normal people, but he was referring to people in the game, basically running the streets, doing shit. Because once you take that step and make that decision, as I did when I started selling steroids, you're a part of a different thing. You're not part of this normal society where, yeah, you know, calling the cops is okay. You know, that's what you should do. But if you start living that life where you're running the streets and you're doing the shit you know you shouldn't be doing, then you have to follow the street laws. There's government laws and there's street laws. Street laws are all unwritten, but there's shit you got to follow regardless. And snitching is something you don't do. It's something that people do all the time, and there's often severe repercussions for doing it. But that is not something you're supposed to do. And that's what this episode in particular was referring to. And that's what the point Marcus was trying to make, is if you're going to do this lifestyle, you better keep your fucking mouth shut if you ever get busted, because that's what you're supposed to do. You don't go turn in and, you know, bringing other people down with you just so you could get a reduced sentence or no time at all, because that's just bitch shit right there. Like, you made the decision, own up to it. When I got busted, they wanted me to fucking roll and tell them this, tell them that, and I said, fuck you. It's not going to happen, because that's part of the game. You get busted, you do the time. Simple as that. You don't go fucking running and telling like a little kid oh, he's the one that gave it to me. He's the one. I'll help you, because that's just fucking lame, man. And that's what this whole episode was referring to, was if you're gonna do that, you might as well just be a fucking nerd, go get a normal job, and stay out of the streets, because the people in the streets are a whole different animal. And if you're not cut that way, as Marcus likes to say, then you might as well just stay out of it.
Yeah, and to reiterate what he's saying, there's like you said, different rules for different elements in life. You got the street code, you got you got the civilians who aren't involved in the streets, you got military, you got different levels of law that apply. If you're in the military and you get caught and you're held hostage, you're not going to snitch out your regiment. You're not going to tell where you guys are hiding out or where you camped out at or whatever. You don't do it. If you were going to snitch on your homies in the military, then you're going to get your wig split. It's the same thing on the street. It's a code. If I'm on the street and I'm putting myself into the mix and I'm exposing myself to the elements, then I got to take what comes with that. I can't be out there doing one thing, doing dirt, and then turn around and run to the popos and ask for help. Nah, you made the choice. If you're a civilian like this cornball right here, then stay the hell out the game. You ain't got nothing to worry about. You don't have to worry about the even word snitch coming up. My mom doesn't know what she's not involved in snitch. My stepdad's not involved in snitch culture. My grandfather, none of them involved, because it doesn't pertain to them. Snitching is for people who are in the game, who can't serve their own time because they're punks and they don't want to. They want to get off easy, but they wanted all the benefits of it. That's what a snitch is. And the whole thing I say about talking about committing crimes, I never tell anybody commit a crime. If you're out there committing a crime, I'm saying don't be snitching on somebody else if you get caught, because that's on you. You take your own fall. But as far as endorsing you committing a crime, you got to be a jackass like this guy, because there's nothing cool about committing a crime. If you have opportunity to do something legit, why would you put yourself in harm's way? Why would you run around trying to make a couple of dollars when if you had a job, you could be making that plus some and don't have to look over your shoulder? That's what I'm talking about. It had nothing to do with telling you to go commit a crime. I do videos all the time, and I tell these youngsters, learn how to fight. Learn how to fight rather than go shoot somebody. Why would you want to take your life away because you got a black eye or a broken nose? If you're out there talking shit and you want to be a tough guy, then learn how to fight. Go take you some motherfucking karate classes or some wrestling classes or boxing or something. Learn how to fight if you're going to run your mouth. Otherwise, keep your mouth shut. And that's the thing with a lot of you guys these days, especially going back to millennials, because you basically talk mess over the internet. None of you guys have any heart. None of you guys know how to stand up. All this bullying and all this culture where, oh my God, leave my kid alone. Man, I got bullied growing up, got called all kind of names, the N-word, oh, you're bow-legged, you're black, you're dark-skinned, this and that. I had to toughen it up. I can't go to my mom crying every day. Oh, they talk bad about me at school. They did this and be a little snitch. Nah, I learned how to muscle up, work out, start busting some heads, splitting some wigs. And that's how you learn to be toughened up. You guys are so worried about somebody doing something to you. Learn to stand up. Like this guy right here, learn to stand up, man. Let your nuts hang. Get the hell out the gated community. Get off your little mountain bike, whatever you ride around during the day, and take off your biker shorts, man, and go learn how to be a man. Because that's all I'm talking about. I don't endorse prison. It was the most humiliating experience ever. Grown man looking up my butt crack, squatting cough, lift my nuts up. I got tired of that, man. People running up in my cell when I'm sleeping. I got to get up. If I don't get up, I get beat up with a baton. Dudes run around and armored gear and with shields, and they can smash on you. Man, I hated it. Ignorance, the racism, and you're talking about you even got a little racial in there with the Black Lives Matter. So I know what kind of person you are. I didn't say nothing about Black Lives Matter. Even though if you think that that's an issue, then you must endorse all the brutality that's going down in the neighborhoods. If you think it's not biased in the minority communities, you're a damn fool. Just keeping it real. I'm not trying to say one way or the other, but I could tell you're a straight cornball. But, we had to go in on this guy, man. We had to go in on him, man. I thank you for putting out that comment, because this guy, he's a clown. And I hope he hears this podcast so he can share it with his friends while they're eating avocado toast. Because that's what they need to be doing, eating avocado toast and having what is it, a cappuccino. You know what I mean?
Shopping for skinny jeans.
Yeah, man. But this is the type of comments we get, and you know, I try my best because I've never had a mentor to share, you know, what I went through, so people would have a better perspective on life and the pitfalls. You know, I'd never had a male role model. I didn't have anybody that I can say, hey, man, you know, let's work on a car today, or you know what, you shouldn't be out there, you know, doing this and that, and let's go over here and go fishing, or let's go do this. I didn't have that. The streets were my mentor. You know, gangbangers, you know, drug dealers, you know, ex-cons. Those were my role models. Those are guys who had a big influence on me. You know, the people who were squares around me, they didn't have that type of impact. So it took me a long time to learn what I should and shouldn't follow, you know. So that's why we do the show, and that's why we try to keep it real with you guys and you know, show some positive light to you youngsters out there and to a lot of the people, you know, just across the world, because we get a lot of foreign people who are, you know, just intrigued by our jail system, our prison system. You know, it's a prison system that endorses homosexuality. That's why everybody's all excited about busting cheeks, because every time they do a movie in Hollywood, what happens? Somebody gets their cheeks busted. This is Hollywood, man. You cannot make a prison movie without somebody getting their cheeks busted. You know, and then I told somebody I didn't see that, and they're like, he's lying. He had to have seen it. Why do I have to have seen another man put his thing in another man and me endorse it? Why would I have to have seen that? You know, your experience is different than my experience, and I don't have any, you know, if that's what you want to do, more power to you, but I didn't see it. So it doesn't have to go down. And the thing is, you know, we want to educate you so you will have a better understanding of that. A lot of this Hollywood stuff is garbage. You know, this, you know, glamorizing the shot collar and blood in, blood out, and, you know, all these different prison movies and jail movies. Dude, that's ignorant. There's nothing cool about being an old, ignorant knucklehead who thinks he's hard with no job, can't take care of his kids, you know, skipped out on his responsibilities. There's nothing cool about that. So, you know, we try to show, you know, another side of that, and hopefully, you know, people can see what we're doing so that they can pass it on to their kids, or maybe put their kids, instead of being in front of the iPad watching anime, they can watch some of our videos and be like, you know what, man, I'm not going to be out here doing no dumb stuff. So that's the purpose behind this.
Yeah, that's good shit right there.
So, you know, we want to throw in, we got another prison talk question. We got time, I think, for another question. And, you know, we're going to be answering questions on here every week, just like we used to do on Prison Talk. But, you know, we'd like to share what you guys have to say, and excuse us if we don't get to every question. We get so many questions and emails, I can't answer all of them, or I'll never be able to leave a house. So, had a question. Hey, Big Herc, I love your videos and have been watching for a couple weeks now. I love learning about what goes on inside prisons, and your videos are one of the best sources out there. You seem like a cool dude and love what you're doing. For my question, in one of your recent videos, you were talking about how inmates get by as to not having a women, and they turn to sex mags, beating off, and even getting their game on female guards. How do inmates get female guards to have sex with them? And where could they possibly get down without being caught by other guards or inmates? Wouldn't other guard staff find out that a female guard had sex with an inmate inside the prison? Good question. Well, there's a way, you know, and people evolve. And as you do time, and the guys who've done time, their mouthpiece has evolved to a level where they got very good verbals, and a lot of these female guards are intrigued by these guys in prison who had a lot of money, and some of them still do have money. And just like anything else, there's an attraction there. Bad boy, you know, the risk of getting caught, being sneaky, and it goes down. You know, there's institutions where female guards they're slanging coochie. You know what I mean? They you know, there's blind spots. You got a homie lookout. You got a mop closet. There's no cameras in a mop closet. You know, you could duck in there 5 minutes. Man, when you ain't had sex in years, 5 minutes is all you need. That's a power walk right there. You power thrust. You know, I mean, turbo. You know, 5 minutes of turbo power. You get yours and get out. So it goes down, man. You only need a window. And if there's one guard in a unit or two guards and one's walking one way, one's going the other way, like I said, there's signs, there's ways to get around it, man. So there's a lot of ways you can sneak around. You got, you know, the library, you know, you might work, you know, be putting down and moving a library on a library staff member, or, you know, up in the rec hall. I mean, there's a will, there's a way. And if you're sneaky and you got game, you can pull it off. I've seen guys put down moves on staff members. And then when they get caught, the guy gets shipped out, and rumors spread, but it goes back to normal, and it keeps going. So these things happen, all the time. And I know in YA, when they had females in with the guys, it was going down big time because there was a lot of mixing, and the guys in there young and horny, females in there young and horny, and even the staff members were getting in on it. So it's not uncommon to hear about female staff members, guards, even at the female institution, male guards, getting some of these females pregnant.
I don't know what that's like because I never done that kind of time, but I remember in the hall there used to be female what do they call them, counselors.
Yeah.
And they definitely would Peter gaze from time to time. Dudes in the showers, they got the females watching the guys taking the showers, and definitely caught a couple of them Peter gazing, so.
It's funny you say that too, because in the federal pen, the showers were like an open, it's like an open, kind of like almost like a pantry door. And so guys would, when there's a female staff working, they would time their showers, and some female staff would actually be on the stairwell and they could see you. And if you could see them, basically a dude would be in there beating off, looking right out the female staff while he's showering. And she knew what he was doing, and he knew what he was doing. And that's what went down. I mean, in the feds, man, you had to get it anywhere you can. And there's females who would basically walk around and, that you'd have your towel up because in there beating your meat, and they would open the door and look, and you have a hard on, you keep stroking, and they just keep looking and wouldn't say nothing. So, it's human nature, man. It's males and females, and there's a lot of sexual tension. And, it's bound to happen. People are very, very high strung in there.
And I have to say, it is quite amazing how the lack of being around women, like you can turn the ugliest broad into a 10 by not being around some good looking women. Like I remember there was this fucking dog that used to walk around the unit, and she kind of turned me on a little bit. And I don't know why, because, under any other circumstances, I never would have given her, a second look. But when you're just deprived of that interaction, you try to get it wherever you can. And that just blows my mind.
Hey, you have me just thinking right now, there was a girl, we should call her a pig in a wig. And she was pretty, man, she's pretty manly, pretty brawny. But she used to, you try to find something about her. Maybe it's an eyelash. Maybe the eyelash turns you on, because she had a flat butt, wide shoulders like a linebacker. But then you think, man, she's got a cooter. Yeah. And that cooter down there has power. So you were still trying to figure out a way. And I know, like I said, your standards change while you're in there because you're so deprived. There used to be females that would come into the unit, and they would sit on certain chairs or on the table. And when they got up to leave, guys would go down there and sniff where they had sat down at to try to get a whiff of the cooter. That's how serious this shit is. So don't get it twisted, man. Yeah, it was serious, man. And so you would try to get a whiff, or if you could get a female staff to rub herself and give it to you, man, you put that thing in an envelope, man, and that thing would be valuable. So there's a lot of sexual things going on in prison outside of man busting man cheeks.
Yeah, I don't know why dudes resort to that, because the one in particular that I was talking to, she used to always walk around with camel toe. Like, so she had these really tight jeans on, camel toe like crazy.
Purposely.
And when you're young and just fucking balls out horny, you just start jerking off like crazy. We used to fight over People magazines. It's like, oh, look at that leg. Look at that leg.
I remember they had a picture. They got a friend of mine got a staff member to bring in some nudes when Britney Spears had her little nude pictures. It wasn't pornographic, but they were nudes. And, man, we were renting them things out, man. We were making probably 15, 20 soups a week off of renting those pictures out of Britney Spears. That's how desperate it is, man. Those pictures are valuable, man. You know, so
very, very, because you wanted it the first. You wanted to be the first one to get
Exactly.
that magazine before it got all fucked up. Dude's fucking tearing out pages and fucking jerking off all over that thing. Oh yeah.
And I talked about that before on the Prison Talk too, that the theme book business is big business. If you had a Buttman in prison or any type of like major European hardcore magazine, that thing can make you probably $20 a weekend. That's how serious it was. And these guys had every page numbered. And I'm telling you, if that thing came back and it went from 100 to 103, you were in for it. You were going to get your wig split.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, it's serious. You know, guys take the theme book game serious. So, yeah, just to answer your question, I hope that kind of gave you some insight on how how it gets down up in there with the guards and staff and inmates. But yeah, it's pretty wild, man. It's pretty wild. Do we have time for another question, you think?
Yeah.
All right. I had another question from one of our viewers. What's going on, Big Herc? I have a few questions. Have you or anybody you know met someone who just didn't want to leave the prison, just so used to that lifestyle routine that they wanted to stay? Did they commit acts to get a violation and have to stay, or did they tell the prison they didn't want to leave? I assume that they would be like, no, you got to go. My next question is, if your time is coming up to be released, do other inmates attempt to do things out of envy so you can't get paroled or let out? Thanks for doing all you do for awareness and your dedication to the cause. I did some juvenile hall and county just over stupid shit. It's definitely not a place to be or a place to be glamorized. Anyways, sleep doing what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing, and being 110%, and good luck. You know, it's funny you say that because a lot of guys do institutionalize. I've seen a guy, he could probably be old enough to be my grandfather, man. He had basically been in and out the feds since his 20s, and as soon as he's a bank robber. As soon as he would get released, he would go and just commit another bank robbery, knowing that he was going to get caught because of, just the fact that he was already hot, and he would just succumb to the arrest and, go along with it and do another bid. And as soon as he got locked up, he was looking forward to going back to whatever institution and working in a factory. So he was a conditioned slave. Just like, back in the day, he was a conditioned slave and he would go right back to the plantation. And so mentality-wise, he was institutionalized. And there's a lot of guys like that. Right before they're going to get out, they'll do something instead of letting it slide because they're just, they're scared. After you've been down 15, 20 years, a lot of guys have a lot of anxiety. People done moved on. They don't have nothing left. And it's a lot of fear there. And they don't know how they're going to survive, even though they've been surviving in prison, living like a king with 2 pairs of shoes and top ramen and soda pop. But on the street, they got to now buy all their amenities. They got to pay bills, got to take care of kids. And it's too much for a lot of guys. So I've seen guys, right before they're about to get out, just do something stupid, catch another case, stab a dude up, beat a dude up, just do anything and try to act like old man is on the other guy. He started it just because they were scared, and they don't want to tell people that they're scared, even though they act like they want to go home. So it's pretty crazy, man. And as you get closer to your release date, you don't really tell anybody when you're getting out. People might have a general assumption that, hey, man, this guy's doing, he got 10 years and he's been down X amount of time, so he might be getting out. But the only people you tell are your closest friends. And when I was about to come home, I only told maybe, my guys I used to eat with knew, but that was it. I didn't tell a lot of these other guys when I was getting out. They knew I was getting out, but they didn't know exactly what date. And I avoided just as much drama as possible by keeping a low profile. So when you're about to touch down, there is a lot of stuff that you can be subjected to, getting set up, people planting stuff on you, guys trying to start fights with you. So you got to be on your toes. But yeah, all that is something that does occur in there. And it's funny you asked that because, like I said, a lot of guys, they just panic, man, when the doors open.
Now, is there a way that we can remedy this? Like, is it the type of person, or is it the lack of program for reentry into society? Like what is missing in this equation so that this person has that fear rather than he wants to come back and wants to do better? You know what I mean? Like, What's missing there?
I think a lot of these guys, having done their time, they just haven't prepared themselves mentally. See, what a lot of people do when they get to prison is, as soon as they get the opportunity, if they get, some of these guys say, hey, man, get in here and get you a factory job. I can hook you up doing this. And so they just go straight to work. They don't research their case. They don't reflect. They don't do any meditation. They don't try to do anything to change who they were before they went in. So when they get off work, they watch TV or they're playing games or they gamble, whatever they do. And so there's no me time. The only way you're going to actually change and not come back is changing what you did to come in. And that takes time on working on self. So I don't know if it would be, more basically outreach programs or say, rehabilitation programs, because they offer programs. But a lot of these guys, the programs, they're pretty lame. But everybody I know that got out, they're out. They're still out. But we all had a study group. We had material that we would read and we would conversate and we were acting like human beings. It was me, Mexican guys, white guys, black guys, Asian guys, and we treat each other normal. The guys who get in there and they get clicked up and they're running around hooting and hollering, getting tatted all day and just, doing the program, they become programmed. See, I never programmed when I was in prison. What I mean by that, I never put myself into as a keg in the wheel and accepted that I was an inmate or ex-con. When the guards addressed me, I always said, hey, call me by my name. I'm not an inmate. I'm not a number. And they hated that, but they respected it at the same time. So that's a big thing, man, is these guys, they watch TV on the weekends or during the week, and they don't do nothing to work on self. They've never done any time to really figure out what personality traits led to them committing a crime, what made them so criminalistic. These guys, a lot of them, by the time they got to the feds, they done committed multiple crimes, because the feds, you don't just wake up and end up in the feds. I did a lot of shit to get there. So I had to go all the way back, and it's a deep, dark place. And I had to start from scratch and basically start, doing basically a check system to see why it is I did what I did and change that. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be rehabilitated and you're not going to come out a better person.
And that's something that could be implemented into everybody's normal life. That doesn't have to be just the dude being locked up and having to go through all that to come out and be a better person. Like, if you're stuck in something that you're stuck in now, whether it's you want to lose weight or you feed yourself whatever bullshit ass excuses as to not lose weight, you got to basically find it within yourself to change that behavior. Just like these dudes who do 15 years and have to figure out a way to come back out of that and still progress on with life. So I feel like that can be something that everyone should incorporate into their own daily life. So that way you can get to where you want to get to. Because the thing about dudes like this that have done 15 years is they have a 15-year lag time. You have that 15-year head start on them. So if anything, they have more to be upset about than you do, being out here on a daily basis, going through your normal life. So, stop making excuses for not doing the things you want to do and just fucking do them, because that's really what it comes down to. Because that's what a lot of people tell ex-cons, it's like, oh, you did the crime, do the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with you, motherfucker. Like, there's no reason why you can't do what you want to do when you're outside.
That's right.
So
you have way more options, way more opportunities. You don't have somebody telling you when to shit, when to eat, when to go to bed. And, people make a lot of excuses. And a lot of times, I just kind of laugh to myself, and sometimes my wife, she's like, I know you did time in prison and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. So quit whining, because life, man, you have so many choices. And I don't understand what's so hard about making a decision to do something or changing something. What's so hard about it? Does it hurt when you say, oh, I got to go to the gym? You got to walk out to the car and get in your car and drive. I mean, does it hurt when you say, oh, I got to stop eating this cake? Or, oh, I want to get another job, so I got to email my resume. What's so hard about that? You have all the opportunities, so all you got to do is make the choice and act on it. And that's the thing, man. A lot of people like to talk about stuff, but they don't like to act on it because then it creates responsibility. But knowledge is knowing, and knowing now, if you choose not to do something about it, you're a fool.
Yeah. I know there's definitely times where I, try to make excuses for shit, and I'm like, would this really be worse than if I was in a fucking bathroom?
Exactly. Exactly.
No, I'd rather be doing this any day. If it means me working 23 hours a day, 27 hours a day, whatever the fuck, I'd rather do that any day than be locked up. And I didn't even do serious time, but just a little bit of time that I did was more than enough to shake me from that type of bullshit ass excuses. So now I just do. And that's what, put yourself in that position. Next time you're thinking about making an excuse as to why you shouldn't do something or why you can't do something, think about, would you rather live in a bathroom 23 hours a day?
That's right. That's right. I lived there. I lived in a bathroom for almost a decade of my life, man. And, I put my mom and my family through a lot of hardship, and I'm not proud of it. And I don't brag about it. And I don't get out here and endorse, yeah, homie, whoop-de-wop, and I'm big whoop-de-whoop-whoop, and I did this. I was knocking these motherfuckers out. That's nothing to talk about. Oh, Herc, did you split wigs? I've split wigs in my lifetime, but, ain't nothing to talk about. I did a lot of dirt, but ain't nothing to talk about. I'm trying to talk about the flip side and the positive aspect of all this. And that's why, when we talk about these conversations and we share stuff, I try to show what your life could be rather than what it is that I did. Because what I did, I try to make light of it. And now I'm out. I'm not gonna sit around and cry about it. And I don't try to blame society. I don't blame. Oh, I never knew my dad. No, I own up to it. And that's the thing. A lot of guys don't want to own up to their actions. They want to blame everybody else but themselves. Man, pull your pants up. Quit crying. Get your hustle on. If you're a real hustler, you're a real go-getter, you'll know how to get out here and make it happen, and you won't make excuses.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.
Wig splitters, coochie assassins. Hey, we look forward to hearing from you guys. Check us out, www.freshoutseries.com, and shoot us an email at freshoutseries@gmail.com. We're out. Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at freshoutseries.com.